Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon again. I'm not sure where everybody is located today. I know we've got people from all over Canada. Welcome to today's webinar on how to lead and coach for resiliency. We've got Debbie Pearmain back with us today. I'm so excited to have her back. She spoke with us a few months ago on supporting mental health for leaders, and it was just a really amazing session. She's a really great speaker. So excited to be talking about this really timely topic again. So if you haven't met me, my name's Victoria, and I'm Victoria Granger, and I'm with Wellness Works Canada. So we're a nonprofit workplace health and performance association, and we are the only association in Canada that supports the workplace health and wellness industry. And so we support employers, primarily small, medium enterprises, and workplace health and wellness practitioners in building healthy, high-performing work cultures. So for employers, we help assess and transform and recognize employers, and we support practitioners with all the tools and resources that you need. And also, we really specialize in supporting you in bridging the gap between employee well-being and culture, and occupational health and safety, and well-being, obviously, and workplace performance through just evidence-informed resources and support and tools, and advocacy and accreditation as well to support you in that role. And we do actually have the only accreditation available in Canada as well for workplace health and performance practitioners. So I did want to mention that all our webinars are made possible by our members and partners. So if you're not a member yet, please check out our membership options at wellnessworkscanada.ca/memberships. And so throughout the month of April, we're actually offering 20% off of our individual annual workplace health and membership. And so you can check that out. We'll send a link afterwards so that you have the link to that. And so hopefully you can check that out. Actually, our mental health first aid kits are also 20% off this month. All right. So I have one more announcement, and then I'm really excited because we have, as you can see on the side here, we've got a couple of people with us today. We've got Zach here from Ready in 5, and he's going to do a movement break for us to get us moving and ready to learn and absorb all of Debbie's really great information today. But one more quick announcement is regarding our National Workplace Health and Performance Charter. So we've recently launched this charter. And the intent of this charter, which is the first of its kind in Canada, is for leaders and for CEOs. And it's really to bring together leaders to share, who have a shared commitment and demonstration of creating a culture of a workplace health and performance in their workplace, but also to learn and come together to learn from each other, to share evidence-informed practices, to learn how to thrive through the disruption that we've been seeing. And really, and what we aim to do is to facilitate this sharing of these best practices and inspire a movement where all workplaces are committed and dedicated to creating healthy work cultures. Because as we know, especially through the pandemic, it's a really important thing that we need to invest in to support our performance and to be able to go through that. So anybody can sign. There's no fee for it. There is a separate CEO ambassador network that people can be part of through that networking, but to show your commitment, you can go online to show that. All right, so we have this special surprise. Again, as I was saying, we've got Zach from Ready in 5. So Ready in 5 is an organization, social enterprise that they really improve online meetings and virtuals through a 5-minute movement break led by elite athletes. So today, and what they do is for every session that they offer another free session to schools who are doing online learning to help facilitate this movement. So you can learn more about them at getreadyin5.com. But today we've got Zach Medell. So he's a member of the national wheelchair rugby team, and he's a 2-team Paralympian. So I'm going to pass it on to him to facilitate a movement break for us. Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Victoria. So today, because we're talking about how to coach for resilience, I apologize in advance, but our shoulders are going to be burning a little bit. It's going to take a little resilience to get through this one. So if we start out, let's just get some arm circles going. I'm just going to start my timer here, make sure I don't go over my 5 minutes. Get some nice big arm circles going. Just loosen things up, get that blood flowing, get you guys ready for learning and listening today. We're going to do these for about 20 seconds. This is called the Tabata routine. So we're going to do 20 seconds on, 10 seconds rest for a couple different exercises. Take a breather, shake those arms out. 10 seconds here. We're going to, because I'm a wheelchair athlete, this is all going to be done seated today. You guys are more than welcome to stand up, stretch the legs if you want. We're going to get some seated jumping jacks going. Not a lot of jumping going on. Make sure you got enough space around you. You're not smacking your walls like I do. Couple more seconds. Again, we're going to start nice and slow through the first round, get the arms moving, and then we'll speed it up as we go on, get the heart rate up a little bit. This one, we're going to do some scissor jacks. So your arms are going to be up front. And we're going to chop your arms back and forth, one over top the other. You start nice and slow if you want. The next time we're going to speed it up a little bit. Okay, take a 10-second break. Your arms might start to feel it a little bit right now by the end of it. Again, I apologize. You'll probably feel it a little bit more. Do some arm circles again. Feel free to go backwards. We went forwards last time. We just want to get you guys moving. Couple more seconds.
This feels really good.
Glad to hear it. Nice to get moving in the mornings, I find. I mean, this is always the highlight of my day, just so we're gonna get some jumping jacks going again. Get my day started. Works better than a morning coffee. You get immediate results from it. Feel just that energy boost, that mood boost. It makes it easy to lead. We're not preaching something hacky. We're preaching something that works. Take a 10-second break. And we're going to get out front, do those scissor jacks again. Crossing one arm over top of the other. And this is a good one because anytime we're crossing over that central line of our body, we're actually activating what we call a whole brain posture. So it kind of connects to the logical and creative sides of our brain just by crossing over that central hemisphere, which is kind of cool. Take a little break. Shoulders are burning. Again, be nice and resilient here. All right, go through one more time. Go a little faster for this one if we want. Get that blood flowing. Make sure we're nice and alert. Hopefully those arms aren't feeling too heavy yet. All right, take a little breather. Sorry, I went extra on that one. Give you a couple extra seconds rest. Don't want to cheat you on that. And then we'll see the jacks. Hopefully you guys at home are following along and gonna notice the benefits here today. Need one more. Let the arms breathe. Give them a little rest. Shake them out. The old swimmer shake. And last that through. Go nice and big if you want. All right, last 10 seconds. Go nice and quick. 4, 3, 2. Give me one extra one. And take a little break. So to finish off with now, just to calm down and relax a little bit, I want you to take a really deep breath into your nose. Exhale as hard as you can through your mouth. Like you're one of those fire breathers. Inhale through your nose. Exhale. Let's do 3 more of these. Inhale. Exhale. Get all that oxygen out of your lungs. Inhale. One more. And that's it for my 5 minutes. So hopefully you guys all feel better after that. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day and you're feeling ready to crush the rest of this webinar.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Zach. It was great to have you. I feel more energized, right? Do you, Debbie? Yeah. And the shoulders are a little burn.
I told you, we got to be resilient.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Talk to you later.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So excited to get into the content here. So the webinar is going to be an hour in length, and as you can see, it's being recorded. Just if you want this, Debbie likes to keep things interactive. There's a little bit of chat here and there, so feel free to use a chat for that kind of stuff. So I just want to introduce Debbie with you so she can take it away. So we've got Debbie Pearmain with us again here today. So we are so lucky to have her. She has, for over 25 years now, she's been working with CEOs and leadership teams and over 250 different companies, really just helping to facilitate an organizational leadership transformation projects. She's worked with Accenture, Global Knowledge, One Step HR, Morneau Chappelle, and as you'll see, she's a really great facilitator and a coach and strategic thinker. She's got a background in social work and human resource management, leadership development, EI, and is really quite the culture expert. And she's also a partner of Wellness Works Canada. So welcome. So happy to have you here today, Debbie. So I will leave it to you to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's, of course, always my pleasure to join you, Victoria, in the amazing work that you are doing at Wellness Works Canada. So thank you for all you do. And you're right, we've got a lot of ground to cover here this morning. So I just want to let everyone know that the first couple slides that we're going to go through, we'll go through quite quickly. And this is really just to lay the foundation for what we're really going to be talking about today, which is coaching for resilience. So in order to be able to coach for anything, we need to have the skills ourselves first. And I know that we have some folks who have joined us today who maybe haven't attended workshops in the past on resilience or haven't attended the Wellness Works workshops that have been happening this year. So I just want to make sure we all have some foundational knowledge before we jump into the real meat and potatoes of why we're here today. So as you can see, these stats actually were done a few months ago. And it's just to give some perspective and spotlight what is happening with mental health in Canada. And as you can see, the statistics have dramatically increased over the last year. I don't think this is a surprise to any of you. And in fact, the Gallup organization did a study in November, and it said 92% of respondents said that they were feeling burnt out. So I just want to start today with really just having that honest, truthful perspective about what is going on right now in Canada with people's mental health and well-being. Some experts say we are in a crisis state because what's happening, the demand for service has absolutely surpassed the amount of support and resources that are available in the community. Right now, mental health is the #1 cause of long-term disability in Canada for employers. And it's the #1 topic that I've been teaching on over this last year with my workplace clients. So if you're on and you have not had any fundamental or foundational training in your workplace around mental health and well-being, I'm going to suggest that that's a very important starting point to this conversation on resilience. And I also just want to highlight that depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide for men. So this is a very, serious and important issue. In order for us to get into the topic today, I just want to again highlight what are mental health protective factors. And as you can see up here, there are a number of things that can help contribute positively to our mental health and well-being. #1 being education and awareness. This is what breaks down stigma. And because of stigma, we currently see only about 50% of people who have mental health challenges actually seeking help and treatment. So why I can't impress enough that if you have not yet done any training in your workplace around mental health and well-being, this is a critical skill that every leader and every employee needs to have. It's critical. And then we go from there to what's next. So we know that the degree of a person's resilience has a large impact on their mental health and well-being. So again, from a skill development point of view, we need to be providing leaders and employees with training on resilience. And resilience is an umbrella term. There's a number of skills underneath it. We will look at a couple of them today. Beyond that, it's what kind of support are you offering your employees as an employer? There are some supports available in the community, but we know they're not meeting the demand. So employers, I can tell you a number of my clients in this last year have added things like EAP or increased benefits for employees around things that will help contribute positively to their mental health and their well-being. It's really important we're providing some kind of support for employees. Then you also see support systems in the community. So a lot of people say the degree of a person's resilience is dramatically affected by the belief that they have about who is in their corner during difficult and challenging times. And so, of course, then you also see a really important factor is just access to resources, access to services. So just some starting foundational pieces here. What is resilience? So for the purpose of today, really what we're looking at is a person's ability to bounce back, let go, embrace the future, stay strong, and remain confident in the face of many things, in the face of change, challenge, failure, disappointment, loss. So our ability to do those things dramatically impacts how we're going to feel and how we're going to experience those things. How do we know if someone is resilient? What are the signs that we would want to be looking for? And so again, the topic of today is how to lead and coach for resilience. So one of the first things we need to be able to do is see it, right? Accurately assess whether we ourselves are resilient or whether our employees are resilient. So what is it that we would be looking for? So that's my first question for all of you today is, how do you know if you're resilient or if someone that you're working with is resilient? What would you be seeing? What would you be hearing? What would you be noticing? And feel free to even just type one-word answers into the chat. I also see that we have a question, and so I will address that in a moment. So you're right. So positive, focused. Yeah, energetic. Flexible, so adaptable. Yeah, if something goes wrong, they can handle it. They can problem solve. Maybe they still have some humor. Absolutely. What else? So maybe their moods, their emotions seem fairly consistent. Yeah, they can still remain hopeful, optimistic. Great, thank you. They can ask for help. They can recognize maybe if they're struggling and ask for help. Their physical health is very much connected to their mental health and well-being. Okay, lots of good ideas. So there's a lot of different resiliency skills that you've just been highlighting here. And I just want to put up that there are 7 kind of key resiliency skills that I teach on. And today, because of the time we have for this webinar, I'm really going to just focus on highlighting coaching around the 3 skills that I've highlighted: positive mindset, emotional intelligence, and stress management. But as you can see, resiliency is an umbrella term, and there are quite a few skills underneath it. So again, from an assessment point of view, if you are delivering training for your employees around resilience, there's some foundational pieces that you want to be training, but then there's also specific skills that require further development. And so if there are folks on this webinar today who are in charge of things like training and development and skill assessment, you're really going to want to be looking at providing training, providing coaching around these 7 skill sets. We're going to highlight today the top 3. I believe they have the greatest impact on a person's resilience, and I will explain why. You've mentioned a lot of good signs of resilience. So again, listening to people's thinking as they're talking to you, do they sound like in spite of what's going on, they're handling it, or they feel they can handle it? Are they able to accept things? They can still set goals and keep moving forward, that they spend time in conversation focused on things like learning rather than the setback or the mistake or the issue at hand. Also, having empathy for yourself and others is a sign of good resilience. And lastly, I want to highlight regularly taking time to care for yourself is a sign of resilience and well-being. Jennifer, you asked a great question, which is, as far as mental health education, what would I suggest? There's a lot of things that you could provide for people. Mental health first aid training. I do some training for companies on understanding mental health, for leaders on not just understanding mental health, but how to support someone who might be struggling with mental health. And there are just some foundational pieces in the understanding mental health training that I do, and I'm happy to connect with you offline about that. So again, for the purpose of today, it's really making sure that you are able to recognize the signs in yourself that either your resiliency is strong or that your resiliency needs to grow and develop. So opportunities for development might look like if you are someone who, often beats yourself up if you make a mistake, if you have a hard time with change, if you resist it or fight it, maybe getting stuck in feelings or stuck in situations or circumstances that you're really not happy with, focusing conversation or feelings around negativity, the mindset that you think you have to, face things alone. So maybe not willing to ask for help or afraid to ask for help, not taking care of yourself. So all of these things would be signs, right, that a person's resilience is struggling. And so again, for the purpose of today, you want to be able to recognize this. That is the first step in any change. So a lot of what I do in my one-on-one coaching is spending time helping people increase their self-awareness. And the reason why this is so important is because we can't manage what we're not aware of first. So seeing it is really the first step in helping ourselves and in coaching others. So you're going to hear me today say a number of things, and the lens that I want you to be thinking about these concepts is both towards yourself, but also in your ability to help support and coach others. So I just want you to take a moment and pause. Where is your resilience today? So what would a number be for you? So I love asking people scaling questions when I'm coaching them, and I'm encouraging you also to ask your employees scaling questions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you define your resilience this week? And 1 would be really struggling, not doing well at all, hardly functioning. And 10 would be absolutely great, full of energy, full of optimism, happy to face the day, full of joy, full of peace. So everyone is somewhere within that range. And that's a really important starting point for developing self-awareness, is just, where are you? And sometimes people say, I'm really not sure. And so that's why it's important to go back to these lists. And then I'll say to them, well, describe to me how you're feeling. Describe to me how you're doing. I sometimes even provide people these lists, and I'll say, check off what feels true for you, right? So these are ways to help people develop and create greater self-awareness around this topic. And then the second thing I want you to be thinking about for today is, how is your team's resilience currently? So if you've got people reporting into you, just take a quick minute, write their names down, And again, this isn't about judging people or labeling people. This is about creating awareness for you around how they might be doing. So this is the first step in being able to coach people effectively, is making sure that you can see it in others. You can hear it in others. So are you able to get a good sense of how the people reporting to you are really doing? Are you checking in with them frequently? Are you asking them good, open, non-judgmental questions? Is there trust in your relationship with them? Do you have a good sense of where they're at this week? And that's the first place to start. The second question then I want you to be reflecting on with your team is, based on what you're noticing now, who do you think needs more training? And who needs more coaching? And I also think it's important to make a distinction between training and coaching. So training is absolutely the right approach to take when people are at a low level of ability. So for someone that you may have scored quite low, you might be seeing a lot more of these signs than you are seeing these signs. That would be an indicator to you that those people actually need training. Training is about helping increase people's knowledge about what it is that they need to know, understand, and do. So training is the right approach when people are at a low level of ability with any topic or any skill. And the next distinction that's really important to make is what we're going to be talking about today, which is coaching. So training always comes first. That's about knowledge transfer. And then just because people have training doesn't actually mean they can do it. So this is another, huge thing that I'm noticing with my clients and with the people that I coach is they've had training and they're still struggling because training isn't the be all and end all. And you and I both know that just because someone, for example, reads a book doesn't make them an expert. So just because someone attends a 1-hour webinar on resiliency doesn't mean they have the skills to execute and implement what they've learned. And that's then where coaching comes in. So I always recommend my clients a two-pronged approach. Training is first, and there are some folks who will get it, who can implement. And we need to be able to monitor and observe and see after training who still needs extra help. And then those are the folks that we want to be giving more one-on-one focused coaching, regardless of what the skill is that we're trying to help them develop. So observation and awareness is always first. And so now we get to the point of what we're really here to talk about today, which is this concept of solution-focused coaching. And you've already heard me speak a little bit about what coaching is and when coaching is going to be the most effective. Sometimes I coach managers who are getting really frustrated with employees who still aren't able to do something. And what I end up discovering with them through the coaching is the reason why they can't do it is because they don't need coaching. What they need is training. So again, it's important to distinguish what is the solution that's going to be best in the situation. Coaching is a great support tool that we have in our management toolbox after basic training has been provided. So people need the knowledge in order to be able to develop the skills. And coaching is really about fine-tuning people's skill set. That is the goal of coaching. And the reason I love solution-focused coaching is its entire purpose is to empower employees to really take ownership and to help employees think for themselves, problem solve for themselves, and take action and make decisions for themselves. So at the very heart of solution-focused coaching is the desire to create independence, not codependence. So it really encourages problem solving, which helps increase people's confidence levels in themselves over time. It also helps increase personal accountability. And the two skills that are at the heart of solution-focused coaching is learning how to ask good, open, non-judgmental questions, and then learning how to be a good listener. And so for those of you, and again, because we have a short time together today, for those of you who want to learn more, Google solution-focused coaching. There's lots of stuff out there on YouTube. I deliver lots of webinars on coaching itself, and learning to ask good, open, non-judgmental questions is a skill that takes time to develop. And the second skill you really want to work on honing is level 3 listening. So I'm curious, for those of you who maybe know a bit about solution-focused coaching, when I say level 3 listening, what am I talking about? So there's 3 levels of listening that all of us as coaches need to really fine-tune and get good at developing. So what is it that we're listening for? What does level 3 listening imply? And again, feel free to just put one-word answers into the chat. So level 1 listening is listening to the thoughts that a person is saying. That would be level 1 listening. What do you think level 2 or 3 implies? Great. So paying attention to nonverbal cues. That's what's not actually being said. So we're now seeing feelings, right? So the body doesn't lie. And people might be saying thoughts or facts to you, but their body language could be sharing other information with you about their feelings that they're actually not articulating. Great. Yes, level 2 and 3 listening is about not just listening to the facts, but the feelings, and really trying to understand the other person's experience or perspective. Great. The other thing you're wanting to listen to beyond feelings is values and beliefs. So that's level 3 listening. And for those of you who are in the role of coach, I mean, I can only share my own experience, which is, you know, I did a social work degree, so there was a huge part of that program that involved interviewing and listening and counseling, and, you know, did my human resource management and had worked in HR for 20 years coaching people. And I was shocked when I decided to do my ICF designation, the International Coaching Federation. I had to learn 60 hours of training around how to be a good coach. And then for those of you who I think probably have your ICF, you know what people have been through with that. But then we had to do 10 mentor coaching sessions. We had to upload audio recordings that a panel judged us for. We had to write a 3-hour exam. And so what I want to just say is, yes, organizations are like a drop in the bucket addressing this coaching issue. You know, I have lots of clients who ask me to come in and teach coaching, and then they say to me, can you do it in an hour? Or can we do a 2-hour webinar? Or can we do a half-day session? So I just want you to get some perspective, right? If you really want to become an effective coach, It absolutely takes more than just a 1-hour webinar, again, reading a book. It's the skill refinement that I encourage you to invest in, and that takes time, right? And so I spend a lot of my time coaching managers on how to become better coaches themselves. So solution-focused coaching for me is absolutely the approach to take when it comes to helping people develop their resilience. And at the heart of solution-focused coaching are these 4 steps. So step 1 is helping people see what's going on. And so how we do that's by asking the open, non-judgmental questions. What that does is allow people to self-reflect, to then see what's actually going on for them. So the open, non-judgmental questions are all about helping others create self-awareness, helping others create emotional intelligence. And again, why? Because they can't manage what they're not aware of first. Sometimes people struggle to see it. And that's where it's then really important that we are able to provide people with honest feedback that's factual and specific in a timely manner, that's respectful and helpful. So sometimes we can ask questions and people are able to self-reflect and see it, and sometimes they're not. And that's where we then need to switch our approach and provide people with feedback in a way that's respectful and helpful. So step 1 is the see it step. When people see it, we then want to collaborate with people. So there's a partnership happening here where we then collaborate with people to help them solve whatever the it is. And in partnering with them around the solving it, one of the tools that I want to introduce you to that I use a lot with my clients is called the 5 whys. I know it sounds very simple, but it's essentially putting the issue or problem into a circle so that it's defined and it's contained. And then what I do is I draw out of the circle 5 lines. So literally on a piece of paper, you end up with a diagram that looks like this. For those of you who can see it, it just looks like the sunshine. And we put the issue or problem in the middle. And then I simply start asking the question, why do you think this is happening? And so we come up with one reason why. And hopefully with self-reflection, the person has at least one answer. And if they don't, we can help by providing our insight. But the idea is to get them to reflect and think about it. So asking why 5 times helps us to really start to understand the root of what is going on with this issue. Once we've gone through that process of asking the 5 whys, we then move on to the next step, which is solving it. So again, collaboratively together, brainstorming solutions to each of the 5 whys. And then the very last step of solution-focused coaching is the action. And this is again where we encourage ownership and accountability by asking the person to choose whatever solutions you've come up with together that they will be committed to actioning in order to help solve and resolve the issue. And we create an action plan. We set some goals, SMART goals that have time frames attached to them that are realistic. And the last step is we really make sure that we schedule in some kind of follow-up to check in at a later date to make sure that whatever's the solutions and action steps that have been chosen are working and are effective. So that is a very short snapshot into the life of solution-focused coaching. And I'm happy to support anyone in developing that skill as a leader and a coach. It is, in my experience, the most effective way of coaching employees. It's empowering, it encourages ownership, and it encourages independence and accountability. If you'd like to do a deeper dive into these concepts, I do a webinar on building accountability through coaching. And it's based on the book listed here called The Oz Principle, and its authors are listed. And I'm going to tell you, it's probably one of my most go-to books around this topic and these concepts. So becoming a good solution-focused coach is step one. And then what is it that we want to be focused on coaching people? We want to be focused on coaching them to develop different resiliency skills. So again, as we go back, what are those resiliency skills? And for the purpose of our time left today, I'm going to really highlight 3 of them. The first is having a positive mindset. The second is emotional intelligence. And the third is stress management, taking a solution-focused approach. Now, why do we start at positive mindset? Because in psychology, one of the things we learn from cognitive behavior therapy is that the brain is the master computer for everything that happens in our bodies. Everything originates with a thought. And neuroscience research has now proven that that is actually true. So this is not Debbie Pearmain theory. There is tons of neuroscience research out there. And what we're really talking about here today is the practice of mindfulness. So positive mindset, positive intelligence is the starting point. Out of our thinking is where our feelings then flow. So a lot of the times I have people who come to me for coaching because they're wanting to change feelings that they're having, feelings of stress, feelings of anxiety, feelings of overwhelm. And so I ask questions to help uncover the thinking that is causing them to feel the way they are. And rather than put a Band-Aid on it and say, let's put a Band-Aid on your feelings, we start exploring and looking at how we can actually reframe some of the thinking that's going on. So if we're able to help people reframe and see things in more positive ways, or be more curious, or even be more hopeful, what happens is their feelings start to change. And then we know from psychology, so that's emotional intelligence, is feelings. So again, in terms of flow chart, it goes positive intelligence first. So I do a lot of teaching in workplaces on positive intelligence, and then emotional intelligence is second. I do a lot of teaching on emotional intelligence. And then what comes third is stress management, because behaviors flow out of emotions. So just again, to recap, it's thoughts first, feelings second, behaviors third. So if we go back to the resiliency skills, why I've highlighted positive intelligence first, emotional intelligence second, stress management third, I believe those are the 3 skills that will have the greatest impact on a person's ability to be resilient. I've been doing assessments on emotional intelligence for a decade, and I can absolutely tell you that people are not able to problem solve and make good decisions when they are in a stressed state. So if we go back to the skills I listed under resiliency, things like setting goals, problem solving, decision making, I'm hoping you're starting to see why I really highlighted those 3 skills as being the 3 most critical. So when I have clients who call me up, because I've been doing leadership development for 17 years, working with some of the top companies like in the world, and I get clients, HR folks, who email me and say, what are the top topics I should be teaching my employees this year? I'm like, positive intelligence, emotional intelligence, and stress management. Yes, I know you want them to be better at time management and prioritizing. Yes, I know you want them to be better at problem solving. Yes, I know you want them to be better decision makers. None of that's going to happen when their brain and their emotions are stressed. So I'm really hoping that this point is hitting close to home today. I do want to just pause for a moment because I know I've said a lot. What kind of questions do you have for me about what we've been talking about so far?
You guys can feel free just to throw them into the chat or the Q&A function.
And it's fine. If you're just literally processing everything, that's good too. So positive mindset is everything. And that is a good starting point. Thank you. Great question. Jody, how do we get management on board? So number one is the ROI. So I would start looking at things like, what are the sick days that are happening? What's the absenteeism rates that are happening? Are you seeing folks go on short-term disability? What is your turnover rates? Start putting dollars to that. That absolutely gets people's attention beyond this is good for our people. This is good for society. The other thing I would do is just do a Google search on the Canadian mental health statistics. Like the fact that 92% of people said they felt burnt out in November, we know when people are burnt out, they're not making good decisions. They are not problem solving well. They are not productive. They are not motivated. What's the impact on that from a business sense? So start tuning into some of that. I can also help. I mean, I've been doing these kind of wellness strategies in companies for a long time. So if you'd like to connect, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about that. And yes, coaching your own supervisors. So again, great question, Brian. And so what I'm going to suggest first is they need the training. So coaching, remember, is level 2. Level 1 learning is training first. So have they had training on these skills? They need to have the knowledge. Then your job as the coach is skill refinement. And so we're going to look at how to coach around positive mindset, emotional intelligence, and stress management next. I'm going to give you some ideas of good questions. So let's start first with coaching for positivity.
Hey, Debbie, this might be on that same note around going into this coaching for positivity, but there's another question you may not see in the Q&A, and it's around, can you explain positive intelligence versus positive psychology?
Oh, great. Thank you. I didn't see that question. Okay, so positive. Okay, so emotional intelligence is simply your ability to be aware of your emotions and then be able to manage them. So we're going to get to that in a moment. And positive intelligence is the same thing. It's about becoming aware of what you're thinking and then learning tools to help you manage it. So I think I mentioned that mindfulness practice is one of the best things you can do to help people increase their positive intelligence. So what does that look like practically? Well, I do webinars in companies on the topic of positive intelligence. So actually teaching people about the brain and the brain under stress, and then teaching people how to calm the stressed out brain, teaching grounding strategies, doing some mindfulness practice. And the research shows that the more you do that daily, it's like lifting muscles in a gym. That region of your brain becomes stronger. So there's two kind of different areas of the brain, and well, there's many areas of the brain, but specific to the conversation of positive intelligence, the limbic system in our brain is the system that gets triggered under stress and goes into this fight or flight response. And for some folks, that is stronger. And a lot of that has to do with life upbringing and experience. And so we know that the more positive sides of the brain, like creativity and innovation and activation and empathy, reside in different regions of the brain. And so positive intelligence is literally around becoming aware of your thinking. You know, what percentage of time is your thinking in a positive way or in a negative way? And are you even aware of the thoughts that you're thinking? And how do you improve that in yourself? Would be through, for example, meditating or getting some coaching or counseling from someone. Another way to do that would even be to be journaling, so that you can start to create some awareness around the thoughts that are contributing to your feelings. So positive intelligence is about awareness of thinking, number one. Two, the ability to then manage your thinking so that it's serving you in healthy and positive ways. These are skills that we can teach people. How can you help coach people around positivity? I would start changing the focus of your conversations. So often I sit in meetings and the majority of the conversation is around the problem or the issue or what isn't working or the challenges that people are having. And then we wonder why over time the team is tired and demotivated. So I really want to encourage you to start asking people what's going well for them. What are they learning? What are they thankful for this week? Asking different questions will give you different results. I also encourage you, for example, in your meetings with people to take time at the beginning of the meetings to celebrate successes and throw out some recognition and some appreciation. These things literally release dopamine and serotonin in people's brains, which are the feel-good hormones. So we can help contribute positivity, right, into situations. I even encourage leaders to be bold and brave and courageous and even step into the mindfulness space. So the more you learn as a leader around the practice and habits of mindfulness, you can incorporate those things into your team meetings. So I've got a number of leaders that I coach who have started doing things like some breathing and some meditation with their team at the beginning of their weekly team calls. And it's going over very well. Thank you, Catherine. Great comment that you put in here about appreciative inquiry. Absolutely, that's moving in the direction of what people want to see more of. So the brain loves positivity. And again, it's learning as a coach to be able to get people off of the issue or problem and onto the vision of the future of what it is they'd like to see more of. And then helping them, right, to problem solve and create goals and action steps to move them towards that. Another really important coaching skill is inviting people to be able to reframe the way they're viewing situations. So literally it's like taking off the glasses. This actually helps people develop flexibility in their thinking. People who are rigid thinkers really can struggle with resilience because it's black or white or all or nothing. And what we want to be doing as a coach is encouraging people to have flexible mindsets by learning how to see things from different perspectives. One of the tools that's extremely helpful for that is a tool called the 6 Thinking Hats. And that's the work of Edward de Bono. And essentially what he did was label different perspectives as colors. And you can even in a team meeting, if you're, brainstorming around an issue or problem, you can say to someone in the room, okay, for this discussion, you're going to be the white hat, which is only telling me things that are optimistic, or you can be the green hat, which only looks at things through the lens of learning and growth, or you can be the black hat, which is only the critical thinker who's going to tell us negative things. And so what you're literally doing is called brain gym. Every time you encourage someone to see things like a new pair of glasses from a different perspective, you're actually developing new neural pathways in their brain. So you're helping create flexibility of thought. So coaching for positivity, lots of examples. And then we move on to coaching around emotional intelligence. And this is, again, as I said, where we're really trying to help people have good self-awareness so they can better manage themselves. Our emotional intelligence has an 85% impact on our success in life. And it is a huge contributor to leadership success. I, every time, do a recruitment for a leadership position, I run the candidates through what are called Eqi assessments. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Eqi 2.0, my favorite emotional intelligence assessment, because it's the only scientifically valid, reliable assessment tool in the marketplace. And that's an assessment tool I chose to get certified in as an HR person because I believed in it that strongly. Every time I'm recruiting for a leadership position, I have the candidates do the Eqi assessment because we know how much EQI, or emotional intelligence, impacts leadership success. So that's another really good takeaway from today is, are you incorporating those kind of assessments into your selection of leadership positions? How do we help coach people around self-awareness? Absolutely, the regular one-to-one meetings are the place to do it. It's providing people with honest observations. I've put a 4-step feedback process up here for you. And I would also ask those open, reflective questions and then learning to be a really good listener. So again, this is all about helping people see it. They can't own it if they don't see it first. What are some of those good open coaching questions? I've just put a list up here of some of my favorites. These are questions that I ask in my one-to-one coaching with people. So just take a moment to take a look at these questions. And again, just encourage you, you can Google powerful coaching questions, but these encourage self-reflection. They encourage problem solving. They encourage ownership. And then lastly, looking at coaching around stress management. So those are the 3 skills that we're really focusing on today. So I love the scaling question, right? How are you doing this week on a scale of 1 to 10? What that does is it helps people and you to start seeing a pattern over time. So if people are saying, you know, one week they said an 8, and then the next time you talk to them, they're at a 5, then you're going to ask a really good follow-up question. You know, what's changed for you since the last time we spoke? Get them to reflect on it. What have you been doing? What have you been not doing? One of the patterns that I've noticed as a coach is when people go from like a higher number to a lower number, and I've seen that happen obviously quite a lot with myself and others over the last year. One of the biggest reasons why is because their self-care habits and routine got off track. So there is such a huge correlation, right, between how we are caring for ourselves and how that affects our mental health and well-being. Now, sometimes it's because of some outside factor, right? Like something really traumatic happened at work or something really hard's happening in their personal life. But I'm telling you, the pattern I've seen most over the last few months is just that we just lose focus of our self-care, or the priority slips, or we forget to schedule something in, and we just kind of get off track. Now that's okay, because again, we can't manage what we don't know. But when we start to help people see that, then your conversation with them is literally about, how can I support you to get back on track? What do you need from me? What do they need to do to get back on track? How can they hold themselves accountable? I love asking the question of, what's your wellness strategy for this week? And people look at me like, what do you mean a wellness strategy? I'm like, well, listen, one of the principles of time management is, if you fail to plan, chances are you're going to fail. So you need a strategy or a plan. We can't just like start our day on Monday hoping that by Friday we're going to end up feeling 8 out of 10. How are we going to get there? What are our goals for the week? What are those habits? So number one is, we need to have a plan around well-being. And then number two is, when you have a plan, we know from time management, what gets scheduled actually gets done. So one of the habits I really encourage everyone I coach is to regularly set aside a half an hour in their week for self-reflection. How are they doing? And then what do they need to do more of this week? What do they need to do less of? Plan it out and schedule it in. These are really powerful habits that you can be encouraging people in order to help them stay accountable for their self-care. I know that we're running out of time, and so I just want to put up this slide. I mentioned the other key coaching skill is really learning to be a good listener. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can read on, level 3 listening, validated listening, empathic listening. These are all skills I want to encourage you as coaches to grow in. And then lastly, here's a couple strategies just to help you in creating resilience, not just in yourself, but also in your teams. I do want to take a moment just to say, leadership is not for the faint of heart. This has been a really tough year, especially for leaders, because you're being asked to be role models, you're being asked a lot, and you're being asked to support a lot of people. So one of, absolutely the pleasure, I guess, for me is being able to help support you and coach you. So if there are folks out there who need some help, who need an extra support, coaching and leading, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to support you in that journey. I know it's not easy. I know it's been a hard time. So I really just want to thank you for your time today. And you've asked some great questions, and also thanks for your participation. The most important thing for me is, what is one thing that you can commit to doing today that will help improve this for you, whether it's your own leadership, your own resilience, or your ability to coach your employees more effectively. Just choose one thing from today, set a goal for yourself, and schedule it in. That will have made your time with us today worthwhile and valuable. So I just want to say thank you for being here today, and I hope this was a valuable use of your time.
Thank you so much, Debbie. That was great. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using those scaling questions, the team, to see, I think that it's helpful to compare and contrast, right? Week to week through team meetings. So thank you everybody again for being here. So we will just wrap it up. We will be sending an email afterwards so that you can have Debbie's contact information and have access to some of the resources and all of the great training and coaching that she has available. So we're also, again, if you haven't signed the Workplace Health and Performance Charter, see that online. We'll send you the link for that as well. It's at wellnessworkscanada.ca/charter. And then we've got a lot of other complimentary webinars coming up. We actually have one next week, which is on a different topic. We usually focus in on leaders, but this is applicable to everyone. It's on overcoming stress eating, and a lot of other ones around leading through disruption and different types of topics coming up. So we'll send those afterwards. But thank you, everybody. So stay tuned for that follow-up, and have a great rest of your week, and all the best with coaching for resilience.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, Victoria.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.